Hello folks and welcome back. We are going to be doing our hidden picture today. To get started, I'll need a piece of drawing paper, a ruler, pencil, my erasers. Again, I have my pencil sharpener and an old Tupperware. You may want a Sharpie or your black felt marker. You may want colored pencils. It's up to you. I also want an idea of what I'm going to draw, but before I dive in, let's start with a nice clean border around our paper. You can see I've got a border here. It just gives it a professional finished feeling. So let's go ahead and do a border, and I can be thinking about what I want my image to look like. Okay, taking my ruler, I'll line it up on the bottom of my paper, and I'm going to do a 1/2 inch border, which means that if my paper is at the edge of my ruler, and here's this long line with the number 1, halfway in between is a tall line, and that's where I'm going to make a mark. It just so happens that my paper is 9 inches this way. So right now I've got the edge of my paper at the 9, which means that if I find the 8, halfway between is this nice tall mark. So I'll make a little line there. And I'm going to do that on the other edge. Line up my ruler with the edge of the paper, halfway between the end of the ruler and the 1, make a mark. Line up the edge of my paper with the 9, halfway between the 9 and the 8, make a mark. Now on the long edge of the paper, which is 12 inches, I'll line up my ruler. Halfway between the end of the ruler and the 1, I see that tall line, so I'll make a mark. Halfway between the 12 and the 11, tall line, make a mark. Go ahead and flip my paper over and do the same thing on this bottom edge. Halfway between the edge of the paper and the 1, make a mark. Halfway between the edge of the paper and the 11, make a mark. Now I can take my ruler and I can line it up and then connect those marks. Let's do the same thing on this other side. Line up my ruler so it's right on those marks and then connect them. And then this time, when I line them up, I'm just going to go from line to line. So I don't bring it all the way to the edge. That's one less line for me to erase. And same thing here. And then with my white vinyl eraser, I can erase those extra lines that I made. So I end up with a nice clean border. All right, in the hidden image examples, you saw some pictures that were of objects like the giraffe. Oh goodness, what was that other one? It'll come to me. Giraffe, you can have an actual picture, or they could just be shapes. There were some with circles, there were some with squares. You can do it either way. It's up to you. If you want to do it of a shape, you will sketch it in using pencil and then outline it so it's just one single line. Okay, so not a lot of detail, not a lot of texture, it's just the shape of the thing. So I did a seahorse here just for fun. I'm actually kind of feeling doing random shapes. So I think for my demonstration one, I'll do random shapes. Right now the circle sounds good to me. So I'm going to take something that is circular, in this case it's my tape roll, and I'm just going to trace it in a couple locations. It could be cool if it's overlapping. Maybe I'll do the little one here. I just want it to fill the space in a way that feels interesting, right? Pleasant and interesting. Maybe I'll have it go over the border in some places and not in others. I'm just kind of playing around. There's no right answer here. Not too crowded. Something that looks fun, feels full without being busy. Okay. What do you think? One more or are we good? Maybe one more, just for fun. Okay. When it feels full, oh, and I could use circles, I could use squares. If you have a box around your house, you could trace that. You could do stars, you could do flower shapes, as long as it's not too busy, and you'll see why. Okay, we're gonna add the lines that will help us do the flip-flop with our positive negative space. So on the inside of my border, I'm gonna line up my ruler on that line, and then every ½ inch I'm gonna make a mark. So at the ½ inch, the 1, the ½ inch, the 2, the ½ inch, the 3. So on every big number line, and then on every one in between them, right? So there's the 5, there's the 6, halfway between, I'll make a mark. There's the 6, there's the 7, halfway between, I'll make a mark. Go ahead and do this all the way up that inside edge. Just one direction. So I'm not going to do all 4 directions. If I do it on one, I'll do it on the opposite side. And every ½ inch, I'll make a mark. What do you think I'm going to do next? I bet you figured it out already, that once I have these marks, I can take my ruler and lay it across. We've done this before. This should seem familiar. Lay it across, and I'm going to make a mark going across my paper, going over my shape. So if I were doing this on my seahorse one, after I made the marks on the edges, then I would just do lines that go over my image. That's why you don't want an image that's too complicated, because once you add these marks over the top, it can get really busy. All right, I'll go ahead and do this and speed up and meet you back in a minute when my marks are done. Okay, I have my drawing, I have my lines. Decided that I don't like the way that that one goes into the frame, so I'll erase it. While you're working with pencil, it's the time to make the changes. All right, speaking of pencil, I can do this next part in colored pencil. I could do it in pen. Kind of feeling the pen today, like a nice dark Sharpie. One thing about Sharpies, if you're going to use them, is they can bleed through your paper and stain your table. So if I do use Sharpie, I'm going to put this underneath it to protect my surface. Okay. Do I want to do Sharpie? These are big questions. Maybe for the sake of demonstration, I'll show you with colored pencil. So I'm going to take whatever color I want to use. In this case, I'm feeling like ultramarine. And just like we did with our floating spheres, I'm going to give myself a little guide, a little cheat on what to color. So for now, I'll ignore the insides of the circles, and I'm just going to do the border line. And here's what I'll do. I'm just going to make a little mark in every other one. Okay, so mark, skip, mark, skip, mark, skip. Notice I'm not going inside the spheres because I hit the sphere here. Uh-oh, what do I do? Instead of making the mark, I'm just going to imagine where they would be till I reach the other side. So here I go. Mark, skip, mark, skip, mark, skip, mark, skip, mark, skip, mark. So now that I'm outside of the circle, I'll make a little mark. Skip, mark. Why am I not coloring the whole thing in right now? If I make a mistake, it's way easier to erase this light little mark than to try to erase an entire band. So here I'll just make a little note to remind myself where my colors are going to be. Okay, so now I hit the circle again. So I went mark, skip, mark, skip, mark, skip. Okay, let's just confirm by making a little mark on the other side. So if I have a mark here at the bottom, I'll start with that. Double check. Yep, mark at the bottom. Mark, skip, mark, skip, mark, skip, mark, skip, mark, skip. All the way across. All right. Now that I feel confident that I know where things go, I can start to color it in. I'll speed this part up, but I'm going to color just the outside, not the inside, with my colored pencil. on every other one. So the skip lines I'll leave blank, the mark lines I'll color in. All right, here I go. Meet you back in a minute. Okay, now that we have our background shaded in every other line, we can start to do the insides of the spheres. So basically I'm going to do a reverse. If this one is white, then this one is shaded. So this band is shaded, so this band is white, right? So if this one is white, then this one is shaded. So you're just going to do the opposite. Shaded white, shaded white, shaded white, so that when I color it in, it will pop out and look like it's the reverse. Let's do the same thing on this one. So this band is white, so this is shaded, 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 go all the way down. Now here where they intersect, we're going to do the reverse again. So it goes white, so this will be shaded, then white again, shaded, white, shaded again, white, shaded, white again. So where they overlap, it's going to do another flip-flop. So just like this band would be shaded here, it's going to be white inside that little overlap and then shaded again. And then vice versa, white here, shaded in the overlap, white again. White here, shaded in the overlap, white again. So it should be going every other row, and then when they overlap, it's going to flip-flop again. Same thing here, white shaded, 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 shaded. Okay, now I'll take the time and fill this in. Meet you back on the other side when it's all colored. Okay, we're back. So I have finished coloring in. I took a nice sharp colored pencil, I sharpened it, and I went in and I really tried to make those edges really clean. When I was first shading, they were a little soft and fluffy, but then I took the time to take a nice sharp pencil and clean up those edges. Right now I've got a pencil border. I could make this a colored pencil border, so I could take my blue and go around it, or if I wanted a different effect, I could actually erase in between. Careful not to smudge my colored pencil, and that would make it look like the picture's just kind of bleeding out into the edges. Two different effects, both kind of cool. It's just really what you like, what sounds good to you. So I'll show you a little bit what that looks like when I erase the pencil mark, how it just kind of like fades into the background. I think actually that's what I'm gonna do. Although it also would be satisfying to just give this a nice colored pencil border or to shade in this border. I could color this in as well with a different color. I'm fine with the way that the white looks. If I wanted to, if I was enjoying the coloring process, I could go add a second color in between, color my border like I said, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. All right, make sure that your border is clean. If it's not filled with colored pencil, that you've taken the time to clean up your edges, that it's an example of your best work. Take a nice quality photo and turn it in. All right, thanks for your time. See you in the next video.